was the 70s. I had spent 3 very confusing years training as a ballet dancer at the ballet school, first under Dulcie House and then David Poole. Disillusioned, I ran away and I met up with an old friend from ballet school, Diane Sparks, and I went to teach for her and Sheila Opperman for a short while in Windhoek at the Windhoek Dance Academy. Because I was no longer studying, the army called me up for a 3-month camp, which then put pay to my job at the Windhoek Dance Academy. After military training on the border, it was border duty, I got danger pay. I was back in Namaqualand unemployed. So I started teaching in the region and we created die Namakwalandse Dans Geselskap. Knew nothing about funding for the arts, was a thought that never even entered my mind. Had no idea that the concept even existed. And we did a lot of performances in the area and had a massive audience. I wanted to create a ballet. That was the vocabulary that I used because that was the training that I had. I had no idea who Ravel was. Anyway, so we created the very first version of Bolero here in 1976. When I look back on it, the choreography was, to say the least, unimaginative. It was stilted. It was very carrot up the arse-ish. But it was the start of a very, very long journey that culminated in a training process that exists today that is unique and that produces technically very strong dancers. So now it's 1989, more than 10 years later. With this stage, John, myself and Dawn had taken over the Jazz Art Dance Studio near the Boerkaap in Cape Town. We now had a loosely knit dance company that was not professional. It was a group of people, all who had other jobs. Most of them were school teachers. By this stage, we'd met Jay Patha and who had a major impact on who we were and what we did and why we made dance. It was the year of the Purple Rain, the People Shall Govern, when all the protesters were sprayed purple in the city center, and we were now boycotting. In fact, we were boycotting ourselves into a coma. We would not perform in any state-funded theatre. We were boycotting the Grahamstown Festival. As an alternate festival, we attended a festival in Durban at the University of Durban, Westville. I had, by this stage, through a production called Abba Manyani, had closer contact with African dance. And also because of Dawn Langdown, this next version of Bolero, for the first time, included gumboots. Our development was still in an infancy, in its infancy. But the choreography was less stilted than the first version, but it was still very limited. It was still very, it still had a lot of artifice, because the predominant training of all the dancers was that of the Western classical ballet and the Western contemporary dance. In 1990, we perform a very, very angry version of Bolero at the Dance Umbrella in Johannesburg. It wins an award. We make a very rude acceptance speech, but still accept the money. Loud boos from the other dancers in the audience. It's during this time that Albie Sachs visits our studios in Jamison Street near the Boerkaart. He yells at me. He says, "If Madiba can talk to de Klerk, who the hell are you not to negotiate with David Poole?" Cut a long story short, Jazz Art now becomes the first predominantly black contemporary dance with funding and attached to what was then KPAB. For the first time now, we're all on salaries. It's now 1992. De Klerk holds a referendum for white South Africa. A pathologist speaks to me and he informs me that political violence at the time was getting a lot of publicity, that black South African women were being killed in huge numbers, largely by people that they knew. And Jay creates Unclenching the Fist. Jay decides that we should do a double bill and that we should perform Bolero alongside Unclenching the Fist. And for the first time, Jay introduces Bharatanatyam. The work now opens with a homage to Lord Shiva, the god of creation and destruction, the day of our first democratic elections. For the first time, everybody was allowed to vote. We rushed back to the studio in Jamison Street and took a group photograph. That was the same year that Veronica Paper, director of the Cape Town City Ballet, proposed a collaboration between the two dance companies. A brave move. So, and she specifically requested that we perform Bolero. Great excitement. They were going to dance to a live orchestra for the first time. The majority of the people in the audience in the Opera House were supporters of the ballet company. And they were used to streamlined dances and the women having all their hair scraped back into a bun. A shocked, blue-rinsed, bejeweled lady said in the foyer, "Oh, I need to go home and take a tranquilizer." In 2001, Sifiso Kweyama and Sponakaliso Ndaba, who were products of a project that Wouter Geldenhuys had done in Durban years earlier. It was a project for unemployed youth. I had started training them on that project and they eventually landed up at Jazz Art in 2001. By this stage they were fully fledged artists, both performing, teaching and choreographically. And they decided, along with Ondine Bello, to return to Durban to restart this project, Penduka Dance Theatre. So we had a farewell season for them. So we performed an all-female version of Bolero. A feisty bunch of women. Sponagaliso Daba, Ondine Bello, Ananda Fuchs, Jackie Maniapilo, Megan Erasmus, Elisma Wildskut, and Natalie Roberts.
So, it's 2003. The Jazz Art fundraising team is on a roll. We are very good at fundraising. Our training program is doing exceptionally well, with somewhere between 250 and 500 young hopefuls auditioning for the program. We mount 2 spectacular versions of Bolero, one at Speed and one at the Artscape Theatre Centre, with over 40 young dancers. Kids from the Jazz Art training program who come from all over the country. Wendy Abrams' youngsters from PAFTA. Philip Boyd's Dance for All. Abida Medell's Eon Group and Dawn Langdown's Namjive. And the stage is full of youth. Sexy, strong, that tomorrow we were all hoping for. In 2006, the dancers in the company, chief amongst them Laverne Woodard, were whinging, we also want to do Bolero. So I thought I'd set them an impossible task. I said, if you can get some of the old guard to make a guest performance, a guest appearance, then we can go ahead and do it. To my horror, Laverne got no less than 16 of them to agree. I almost had a heart attack. John Linden, Dawn Langdown, Sifiso Kweyama, Vuza Banjungema, Greg Adams, Sponagaliso Ndaba, Penny Stain, Ananda Fuchs, Ondine Bello, Corin Shaw, Heinrich Reisenhofer, Jay Pather, Busisiwe Ngebulana, Mpotseng Shuping, Balu Nevison, and Debbie Goodwin. After these golden oldies completed the entrance, which was the Gumwood sequence, all John did was waft across the stage to thunderous applause. He brought the house down. In 2008, Georgina Thompson staged a Dance Umbrella retrospective and requested Bolero. This was the first occasion that we danced the gumboot choreography without boots because I'd had enough of it by the stage. Daar was redelijk baie ou mense in die gehoor wat vol daarvan gehou. 2016 is Bolero's 40th birthday. So we agreed to do a double bill on Nicolette Moses' dance festival at the Baxter. And we paired it up with John's pros and cons of hitchhiking to Roger Waters' music. I don't think I've ever sat in an audience and watched Bolero, no matter how bad the performance, without a standing ovation at the end. So it's the one work that we've created that always ends with a standing ovation. And I'm convinced it's Ravel's music. It's got bugger all to do with choreography. Bolero has come full circle. And here we are. More than 4 decades later, again we must distance. We must stay away from the other. We can only hope